All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Got a few headlines to get caught up on today. And then after that, we are going to do kind of a part one of Rosemary's Baby, which I screened last night. And the full show on Rosemary's Baby will be tomorrow. But at the end of today's show, we're going to do kind of like a part one of that movie. It's insane, you guys. Well, let's do the headlines first. Good morning, everybody. Just making sure we're connected, sound okay. And then we'll go ahead and get started. They found something weird on the Epstein tape. It's been doctored. They also doctored the flood map at Camp Mystic. So we're going to get into that as well today. And the changes that Trump is making to FEMA. So, all right, looks like everything's good. Let's go ahead and get started, you guys. This is pretty crazy. Metadata from the raw Epstein video shows something extremely sketchy. Now, as I read through this, understand that they're going to do mind control on you to try to get you to believe that nothing is nefarious, but also they tell you the truth about how they doctored the video. Let's read this, you guys. Metadata from the raw Epstein video shows something extremely sketchy. When reviewing the metadata on newly released full raw security camera footage from outside the cell where Egg Stain was his last day, experts found something very odd, that it appears to have been manipulated. The allegedly raw video that the Justice Department just released, in tandem with the repeated claim that the Stain died by suicide and a bizarre insistence that he did not have a client list, may add fuel to the conspiracy fire surrounding his death. Now, understand, we have to look at the long game here, right? Why is this all coming out now? Why didn't this come out before Trump got reelected? All these images of him with the Stain and the connections that everyone seemed to be in denial about. But now, all of a sudden, they're not in denial about it. What's changed? Nothing's really changed. Listen, Biden could have released these files and roasted Trump back then. Why didn't Biden release the files? Do you see the problem here? This is all by design. And what this tells me is that they are on the verge of setting up the next election to go back to the Democrats. And then we get everything that comes with that Trump is setting up now. We get the AI surveillance state. We get the militarization of police. We've got law enforcement in face masks covering their identity. We've got law enforcement with pro bono lawyers that Trump set up. And everything else that comes with it. And right now, the group being targeted, of course, are the illegals. But when the Democrats get power back, who do you think they're going to target next? This is why I say there has to be a level of freedom and privacy, regardless of who is in power. Because once you cross those boundaries and those lines, then it's all bets are off. Let's keep reading here. It says the 11-hour full raw surveillance video from the night he died is notably missing the key minute. We all knew this. In the footage that was just released, there is no evidence that anyone entered or exited the cell where he died. After Wired reporters and independent experts reviewed its metadata, however, a more complicated story emerged. That the video appears to have been modified from its initial form, likely using Adobe Premiere Pro video editing software. Specifically, those experts tell Wired that the DOJ's full raw video from Epstein's last half day alive seemed to have been assembled from two separate clips. And that the whole file itself was saved multiple times before being exported and uploaded to the DOJ website. And then here is the part where For those still hanging on, for those still that will die on the hill of defending Trump, here's the part for those people. As sketchy as those metadata modifications may be, Wired cautions that there's nothing contained within them to prove that the video was manipulated maliciously. But that's unlikely to stop certain conspiracy theorists from growing even more skeptical. So there's the roasting, the gaslighting. Unbelievable. Now, there's plenty of videos out there on all this, Dan Bongino and all this, threatening to leave and all this. So I'm not going to get into the details of this because at this point it's just drama, and none of us know what anything is. But the fact remains, the video's been doctored. The fact remains that Biden could have easily destroyed Trump had he just released the Epstein files during his 4 years of presidency, but he didn't, which tells you that both sides are in on this. Now, let me check in with you guys, and we're going to get into some more quackery and foolery going on with the flood maps at Camp Mystic. They were also doctored as well. We'll get into that. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, Agathusia says, whoever doctored the footage did it in such a sloppy way, it'd be hard to miss. Yeah, almost like they did it on purpose, right? Joe says, I've been spending more time in the garden and away from the internet. All right, Joe. All right, you guys. Well, let's get into this. Texas camp buildings were removed from the map showing the flood risks. The U.S. media reports. U.S. regulators reportedly granted appeals to remove many Camp Mystic buildings from official flooding risk maps years before the 27 children died in the severe floods. Citing official records, the New York Times and Associated Press said maps by the Federal Emergency Management, FEMA, in 2011 had initially considered the popular summer camp to be a high risk of flooding. But they say that Camp Mystic, located in a low-lying area of the Guadalupe, then successfully challenged those designations. So the owners of Camp Mystic challenged the designations for obvious reasons, right? Because if you're in a flood zone, you're not going to be able to either sell the properties easily or attract people to come to the property. The BBC has contacted FEMA and Camp Mystic, neither of which have commented publicly on the issue. FEMA describes flood maps as a tool that communities use to know which areas have the highest risk of flooding. Syracuse University associate professor who has studied the FEMA floods said she found it perplexing that the Riverside camp had been granted exemptions from the map. I think it's extremely troubling that it's a camp for children. You'd think you'd want to be extra cautious that you go beyond the minimum of what's required for flood protection. Now, if you haven't seen our Camp Mystic Decode, you need to watch it because these very buildings that they're talking about, the main clubhouse is literally aligned to 99 degrees on the compass exactly. And the camp was founded 99 years ago, suggesting that it was designed with an end point in mind. Much like the Twin Towers were designed with an end point in mind. What am I talking about? They stood 28 years from 1973 to 2001. And at exactly the halfway point is when they decided to build Building 7, the 14th year of the 28, 47 stories tall, which is Building 7. In the year 5747, 47 stories tall in the year 5747, which was 1987. You can't make this up. How did they know to build it exactly halfway through? Because they knew when the end was coming. And then we looked at all the streets in Manhattan, every single one that runs east to west is set at exactly 119 degrees, which is 9/11 backwards. This is going back 100 years. and even the 9/11 memorial. The reflecting pools are also aligned to 119 degrees. In case people didn't see that the streets were aligned to 119 degrees, they had to make sure that we all knew that they knew they would fall on 9/11. Now, if you think that 19 hijackers did all this research to look up the orientation of the streets in lower Manhattan that we built and said, "Ooh, 119. Let's get him back that way on this date." If you think that's the truth, then I have actually I have oceanfront property to sell you in Arkansas. If you think that's the case, these are not accidents. And in fact, the Secretariat building of the UN has 9 and 11 and 10 courses of windows, starting from the bottom to the top. So somebody knew what the plan was, didn't they? Now, this is what these people do. They build and destroy. And through that, they have growth and control, and they keep us in fear. Let me check in with you guys. Get your thoughts on this. Pretty crazy, right? You guys have any questions about this before we get into some other stories? All right, let's go ahead and get started on this story. So, Christy Nome says Trump wants FEMA remade, not dismantled. So, they're going to remake FEMA in Trump's image. Let's see what they're talking about here. Let's see here. Oh, wait. Okay, let's see. Let's listen to this video here. This might help us.
Thank you for being here after a remarkably busy week. I did have an opportunity.
Now remember, Christy Nome says there are no weapons of mass destruction in Iran. Then Trump said, yes, there are. And then Christy Nome said, okay, yes, there are. So understand this is what's going on.
With President Trump by phone, he did praise your response to the floods in Texas. There are obviously a lot of questions, though, so I want to talk to you about some of those, including about a rule that you recently implemented. It reportedly requires that every FEMA contract, every grant over $100,000 be personally approved by you. Now, officials within the agency have told multiple news outlets that the policy led to a slower deployment of some FEMA resources, including urban search and rescue crews. So let me just ask you, did your policy delay some of the critical response resources on the ground in Texas?
You know, those claims are absolutely false. Within just an hour or two after the flooding, we had resources from the Department of Homeland Security there helping those individuals in Texas. It was a heartbreaking scene, and I think it's been well covered about what the Coast Guard did, how they were deployed immediately and helped rescue so many individuals from those floodwaters. And we had Border Patrol.
Okay, so it's the right-left paradigm. Of course, the left playing armchair quarterback against Christy Nome and Trump, and of course, the people on Trump's side defending him about the quick response to the flood. But as I always tell you, the answer is somewhere in the middle. This has nothing to do with response time or anything like that. This is about a pre-planned event. 99 degrees, 99 years. That cannot be an accident. And now all this money is pouring into this place. Diplomats showed up to the scene. And the 27 Club, right? I think Call for an Uprising basically was talking about the number 27 and how that was significant, matching up with the 27 Club. And so they're going to use this, aren't they? They're going to use it to advance climate change, maybe? Who knows? At this point, we don't know what Trump's capable of. One minute he says he loves electric cars, the next minute he hates them and is taking away the rebates and incentives. One minute he's against climate change, then he's for it for his data centers, right? Green energy. So who knows? We don't know what we're going to get. Now, let's get into Rosemary's Baby. I have the trailer for you guys today. I screened this last night. We're going to end the show with this. I'm going to show you a specific timeline that links Rosemary's Baby in with Back to the Future, as well as Trump. Yes, you heard me correctly. In fact, Trump's grandmother was born. She died 22 days before the Antichrist is born in the movie Rosemary's Baby. She died on 666. I hope I have your attention because this is crazy. Let's play this trailer and then I'll show you the timeline that I put together. I whiteboarded a timeline so I could see it for myself because I speak the words, but unless you see it written down, it might not have the gravity that it deserves. You guys ready? Here we go.
It's lovely, but I can't accept it.
You'll get used to the smell before you know her.
It's lovely. The green inside is called Tannin fruit. That's for good luck. Oh, yeah. It's good luck, too. What happens now?
Very little. You come see me next month.
When will it be?
It works out to be June 28th.
That sounds so far away.
It is.
Yeah.
Janice, I must look it up in the encyclopedia. What a pretty holder, a charm, or whatever it is. Doesn't look like root matter, more like mold or fungus of some kind.
To 1966, the year one.
1886, his son Stephen was born. 1886, got it? That makes him 79 now. No coincidence. Look. And look here. There he is when he was 13. See the eyes? This was published in 1933. There were covens in Europe. That's what they're called. His father was a martyr to it. You know how he died?
Honey, it's 1966.
See you then. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Good luck.
Trump is 79, by the way. So there you go. Unbelievable, right? Rosemary's Baby. Literally everything that we had discovered and have been talking about to this point over the last at least decade. Tomorrow we'll also be covering this timeline that I put together. I just put this together this morning, showing you the Rosemary's Baby matrix, connecting it to Trump. The key to all this seems to be the 58 and 66 years, which is how Trump numbered his Trump Tower. He was 20 years old in 1966 and 22 when the film came out. So we'll get into this tomorrow. I want to give this full justice and I don't want to rush through it, but this is insane, you guys. Let me go back into the chat. We'll kind of have an open show for the rest of the day. I know this was a short show, but maybe we can do it. We can have what do you call it? Q&A or something if you guys want to. Yeah, and thanks to Snowball, who I can't believe it took me this long to decode this movie. But when you look at it, it's being decoded in the perfect time that it was supposed to be decoded. The 79th year of Trump's life. So, all right, I'm in the chat, you guys. Oh, by the way, Mia Farrow, who plays Rosemary, she was in the Omen reboot. So there is an absolute connection to the Omen film. She's in the reboot as she plays, I can't remember who she plays, the part she plays, but they brought her back for that. Snowball says, wait till you see who Rosemary's Baby really is, though. Now, this begs the question, right? There's another movie that's connected to Rosemary's Baby. It's the prequel. I think it's called Room A74 or something, A71. And so I'll have to decode that as well. See how that all fits in. Room A73. I'm going to write it down. What was in her necklace? It was Tannis. So I put the subtitles on so you guys could see that. Biff Tannin, Tannis. We'll cover all that tomorrow. The mold, the fungus, everything we've been talking about, you guys. It's all there. Tannis. Tannis. Tannis root. All right. Yes, Tiffany. Every triple digit number 27 is repeating except 9992737. Every single NNN 37 is whole. Thanks, Chris. The First Omen 2024. Yep. All of them witches. Yes, that was the name of the book that they gave Rosemary in the movie. And then she kept scrambling it because it was an anagram. She kept scrambling it. Now, the crazy part, and this is one scene I did not collect, and I probably should have. Rosemary and her husband are playing Scrabble on the ground, and there you see the letters are formed. Clown and ward, which is draw backwards, of course. On each corner of the board. There are more words formed that have significance, but those were the two that jumped out at me. Clown and draw, or ward backwards. I use tannin in my fish tanks to help clear the water. Yeah, tannin is a okay, so tannin is a stain. Basically, it's a like tannic means like stained or browned. So you can have tannic wine. You can have you have to take the tannins out of I think it's is it not pine nuts. You have to take the tannins out of acorns, I believe, in order to eat them. Like there's this thing with tannins, and it basically means stained or dirtied. But tannin is also an ancient serpentine monster. So we'll cover that tomorrow as well. Good questions, you guys. My question is if you have any trust in Trump, says Six Dogs. No, I don't have any trust in any of these leaders. Reason being is because in the book of Samuel, I think it's 1 Samuel. The very first king ever mentioned in the Bible was by the Israelites, and they asked God for a king, and God basically judged them, told them, if you want a king, this is what's going to happen. If you choose a king over me, if you choose an earthly king over me, this is what will happen. And the rest is history. He says the king will be your judge. He says they will take a tenth. They will take all your good land. They will take your women and your young men and put them in the front lines of battle. And ever since then, the rest is history. So I trust no man. There were virtually no good kings in the Bible in terms of they all got judged. There were always prophets attached to kings that would signal their destruction, prophesying against the kings. If we read our Bibles, we can see that that's the case. Now, God had grace and tried to work with many of these kings, but it seems like their pride always took over. And the people that were under those kings were judged. So, I don't trust any kings. Trump has emerged as a king himself. We were talking about kings before Trump reemerged as a king during his second term. It's like we knew. How did we know that? Well, because God was trying to warn his people. And so now Trump is being teased as a king. Now there was a Time magazine cover showing showing Trump with a crown. That was back during his first term, I believe. But now it's all starting to settle in. Trump is the king. So I don't have any trust in men. The Bible tells us not to have trust in men. It says every man is a liar. And this is why I always tell you, don't believe what I'm saying. You pray about it. You have a direct connection to the Most High, to God, and you pray and ask him if the words that we speak on this channel are true. Don't trust me, trust God. And he'll give you the answer. And I have full faith in that. So no, there's nothing. And even the good that they pretend to do, it's only a means to an end, to advance something else that isn't good. Like, for instance, these baby bonds. Oh, here, the truth has finally come out about the baby bonds, right? $1,000 for every new baby born. And now we get the rest of the story. You know what the rest of the story is? The rest of the story is, oh, okay, well, we've given your baby $1,000. Now, what are you going to do as a parent? And if you invest $5,000 a year into that baby's account, then by the age of 21, that child will have $100,000 and on and on and on. So basically, it's another tax to get you to invest in this economic system and give more money to banks and government. Now, with Trump's track record, do you really think this is a safe thing to do? When they decide to flip the script or mess with the currency, take us to digital currency, or let's say they just wipe away everyone's debt, or they start a universal basic income. If you haven't figured it out by now, Trump has essentially bankrupted America again. You know, people didn't believe me when I told them how much Trump spent the first term. They're like, oh, but inflation's Biden's fault. Well, yeah, but Trump outspent Obama before him. And it took Biden a while to outspend Trump during his term. Oh, but Casey, we had COVID. Yeah. And he went against the will of a significant portion of Americans who didn't want him to spend $1 trillion, what was it, $6.6 trillion in his bill to make a warp speed. We didn't ask for that, but it was forced on us. Wasn't it? 6.6 trillion. Huh. There's that 66 number again. And so that's when inflation kicked off. I already saw the food prices going up after the CARES Act at the very end of Trump's presidency. Everything was going up. Rents were going through the roof as people were trying to get out of these cities where they were being locked down. So they were spilling out. Remote working became very popular, so people could live in different places. And when they moved out of the bigger cities into other places, that would drive up the cost of rent in the outlying areas. Gas started going up, food started going up. And all the while they kept saying, oh, there's no inflation. But yet you see it when you go to the grocery store. And then when Biden came in, all he had to do was blame it on Trump. And he didn't even do that. Why? Because they're all in it together. Biden could have easily blamed it on Trump. He could have said, yeah, Trump passed the CARES Act. He overspent. Trump spent 6.6 trillion. This is why there's the inflation that I'm having to deal with now. But he never, ever used that card because they're all working together. Would have been very easy for him to do that. It would have been very easy for him to release the Epstein files, and he just didn't do it. Now, this is real talk today. You're not going to hear this kind of monologue on most conservative truth channels. They're going to tell you, keep believing. It's like that Journey song. Don't stop believing. Oh, I mean, really. Trust the plan. Guess what? Those channels are popular, aren't they? Thousands of people watching their live shows. Don't stop believe. I mean, they should just play the soundtrack. Might as well, because that's what's happening. And YouTube is rewarding them for this kind of thinking. I could easily just give in. What if I woke up tomorrow and said, yeah, let's just trust Trump? Oh, our channel would double in size because it's the right left paradigm. But I'll never, ever do that because the Bible tells us that we're not supposed to trust kings. The Bible tells us that false prophets are the ones telling you that things are going to get better. And real prophets bring judgment, God's judgment. So, good question. Any other questions, you guys? There are no white hats, Sister G. Yeah, exactly. The problem is that tech companies and social media control the narratives now. They throttle who they want and they silence who they want. This is a very dangerous time we're living in because less and less people have access to the truth. It's simply hidden from them. It's hidden from them and it's gaslighted. Don't stop believing. Yeah, don't stop praying. 100%. The truth is not popular. Put it that way. The truth is not popular. Truth will make you free. Yeah, we are free from their back and forth, right left paradigm, aren't we? You guys have any other questions? We haven't done a Q&A in a while, have we? When evil reaches a breaking point, God sends a warning before destruction. Yeah, if there was ever a warning, it would have to be Trump telling people, why are we still talking about Epstein? Completely out of touch. If that isn't a warning for people to wake up, I don't know what is. Grand Canyon fire, says Christy. I didn't even hear about that yet. Yep, the fires are running rampant. I mean, we are in summer, but this is unprecedented, you guys. Fires everywhere. Truth will make you depressed. Well, there's a verse that says, with the truth comes sorrows, but we're supposed to be rejoicing. When the truth sets you free, it's because you're free from, you basically divorce yourself from this reality. Okay. You realize that Jesus' words about keeping your eyes fixed on heaven, they start to ring true, and you start living your life thinking of heavenly things. And you start living your life focused on helping other people to see the truth. You also begin to clearly see how people harm themselves through their actions and choices. You start to see that clearly because they're invested in this world instead of spiritual things. And yeah, it can be painful to watch people suffering, bringing on their own suffering through their actions and choices and beliefs and where they put their spiritual energy. But in the end, we know how this is all going to get fixed. But it's the watching people suffer part that's hard. I'll admit that. And it's also the part where we don't feel like we've been heard or that very few people see the truth. Now, how is God going to justify all this? I don't know. I don't know how many people are going to be saved. I don't claim to know. But I know God will work it all out. I have faith because He's the Most High. He'll make it all right. It's not going to be dark and depressing on the other side. It's going to be amazing. Every tear will be wiped away from your eye. That means that we won't be missing anybody in terms of the people we love, or God will take away that feeling for us. So, yeah, it can be depressing, but you got to snap out of that. We're supposed to be rejoicing because the end is near and things are going to be all better. These broken bodies going to be gone. Tears gone, depression gone, anxiety gone. New heavens and a new earth. So, I want to encourage you to snap out of it. Yeah. So, what else is going on, you guys? It's Monday. Is it Monday? Yeah, it's Monday. Over 365 times, the Bible says, do not fear. Amen. He's got us. Whatever happens to this body, it's all going to be better. We just got to endure until the end. We got to make it through these last years. And it's all good. Got a bird at my window again. Every time I go live, this bird comes and tries to get in, lands on the windowsill and kind of looks in. I don't even know what kind of bird that is. But I don't know if it can hear me talking. I don't know. Keep your eyes on the prize. I mean, look, we have each other. We get to show up every day and talk with each other about all this stuff and encourage each other. And we get to see clearly, the evil in this world and steer clear of it. I would like to think that after what 3,000 decodes, that those that actually applied what they learned on the channel were able to steer clear of the madness that we're experiencing right now. Throughout the years. I've been saying this for years. I'm like, you guys, you can't really invest in the system. You don't know what's going to happen. And here we have the most two-faced president in the history of mankind. Right? He says one thing and does another. He's rebel rousing you up into negative, unspiritual things that are opposite of the fruit of the Spirit. Right? Getting people riled up. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. Thanks, Justin. If there's anything I can improve on, I'm open to hearing criticism. Just be nice and you can say whatever you want on here. Minds were blinded in the fall. This is what happens in a fallen. It's good and evil. I've got a gnat. Got a gnat problem. I'm swatting at gnats while I'm talking to you guys. I don't know how they get in here. I think they come in through the window vents. There's these little tiny vents at the bottom of your windows. They come through the drains too. Maybe I'll pour bleach in the drains. Yes, have faith. I know a lot of people keep saying, hey, it's almost here. We're almost at the end. We're almost at the end. Think of it this way also. Jesus is physically coming back and every eye shall see him. But when you die, you go to sleep and then you wait. So even our deaths will be a relief, won't it? We'll be resting. And then next thing you know, when we wake up in our timeline, it will be instant. So that's another way to look at it. But we got to endure, We're here for a reason. We got to stay focused. Everything's connected. Maybe we're here to try to help other people wake up. This is why I get up and every day and do this. Because I'm like, I can't go anywhere. I got work to do. God's got work for me to do. And every one of you has work to do. You might have as big of an audience, but you have the people around you. You have parents that love you. You have children. And through your example, through your love, through the person that you are in the Lord, in Christ, that might be what that person needs to wake up. Right? Oh, thanks, Michelle. Peppermint oil in the drains. Yeah, because you're right. Because technically, I'm not supposed to pour bleach down the drain because I have a septic system, and it kills the good bacteria in the septic system. So, peppermint oil down the drains. Okay, good idea. Thank you. I'm gonna go do that now. Critters, part of living in the country. Good questions, you guys. So now, conversion. Let's talk a little bit about that. Sometimes we fight so hard for the people we love, don't we? And then we get discouraged. We feel like God's not answering our prayers. We feel like we're not getting through to people. Well, I want to encourage you with that because I learned a very tough lesson about that. It's the person you are that helps to change other people. They see the light of Christ in you. It's not about, repeatedly telling them to get saved and get baptized. And people look at your life. That's what changes them. When they see peace in you, they see that you're centered. When they see that you plainly speak the truth without trying to force your ideas onto other people, that's when they will eventually change. And you have to let God have his time with these people because ultimately he's the one who is ultimately going to touch their heart. But we as Christians are we're the cast, right? We're the cast in these people's lives that they can look to, point to. And God does the rest. But without a cast, how is God going to show goodness in the world when there's no one that's good? You have to be the good. You have to be the example. You have to have the Christ likeness. No, none of us are perfect, but it's how you handle the problems that come into your life. It's how you handle the imperfect in your life that people take notice of, right? That's how people change. And so we have to stop shaming people about not being saved. We have to stop, you know, criticizing people and all these things. Now, the kings, they're fair game, in my opinion. They're doing so much harm to humanity and they have the power to do the harm. But the people on our level, they don't really have a lot of power to do a lot of harm to a lot of people. And we love these people, right? And yes, we should pray for our enemies. Absolutely 100%. The Bible says that. But in order to show the people that In order to help change the people in our lives to accept Christ or to stop self-destructive behavior, we have to be the rock for them. We have to be the example. And we can only be that through strength in Christ, right? That's where we get our power to be who we are in life. And that's the best advice I can give you, because you will drive yourself insane. You will drive yourself insane trying to change the people in your life, the people that you love, or to get them to wake up to Trump or, all these things. You will drive yourself insane. All you can do is be an example. I tell people let me give you an example. I hate to talk about myself, but it's the only example that I have right now. But, the whole crypto thing, I told people, don't do that. Well, people did it. And now people making over a certain amount of money. When Biden came into power, they came in and he said, I'm hiring 80,000 IRS agents, and their top priority is to go after people with crypto. But all during those years before that, people are like, it's the safe currency. It's Bitcoin. It's free. It's freedom. And then Biden came in. And before that, Trump pushed civil asset forfeiture, which means that if you don't pay your taxes, they can go after your boats, your cars, your homes. Now, you and I don't know a whole lot of people who lost boats, cars, and homes because of crypto. But those people are probably still asleep and they don't come to channels like this, but they're out there. They got back billions of dollars from these people who made money in crypto. So they wiped the slate clean, and the statute of limitations went back years. So as soon as they had the technology and the manpower to go after people who made any money in crypto and didn't pay their taxes, they did it. And they went back 5 or 10 years. The Bible says those who seek after money will stab themselves all over their body with many pains. And it's absolutely 100% true. The housing market, another example. Told people, buy the least amount of house you can and land. You don't want to be paying taxes on $500,000 of land and home because it's unsustainable. The economy's weird. Everything's weird. Well, soon after that, COVID happened. They made everybody stay home. A lot of people lost their jobs and they lost what they put their money into. I'm not saying I'm perfect and I know everything, but it seems like a lot of the advice that we've all come up with together, it wasn't just me, because this is a process of all of us working together to try to get down to the bottom of some of this stuff. I think it's been great advice. Then we saw Trump, basically coming out and endorsing certain things that he then destroyed. First one was the crapper hole. Endorsed it, and then it got destroyed. He could have easily pre-pardoned all those people, just like Biden pre-pardoned Fauci. But he didn't do it. He waited until he got reelected. You got to ask yourself why. Built it and then destroyed it, or allowed it to be destroyed. Electric vehicles came out guns blazing, pretending to support Elon Musk and Tesla and electric vehicles. There was no indication whatsoever that he was going to pull the electric vehicle rebate, which I actually agree that he did that, but we're talking about the bait and switch. What better way to make money off people than to use your popularity to push something that then you later destroy? And then you profit off of that. It's pretty insidious. I could give you 10 more examples, but you get the point. There were literally people when Trump was parading out the billionaires and Elon Musk. There were literally people that looked at that because people research things before they invest in stock, don't they? They go, oh, okay, Musk is aligned with Trump. That means that Trump's going to support Elon Musk's businesses. Maybe I should invest in Tesla. Maybe I should buy an electric car. Maybe I should buy a Tesla specifically since Trump is aligning himself with Elon Musk. This is how these people think. Investors. Well, if you did that, you're now hurting. Tesla stock is in the toilet. If you bought a Tesla, you don't have to pay the government money to own that car. It's not a lot. It's like $250 a year, but that's still $250 a year you weren't paying before. The point is that you don't invest in sinking sand. You'll get burned every time. Now you can try to play the system. There are literally people that come to this channel and they go, okay, since Casey said this, we're going to bet on this. And literally, I've had examples of it. Copper, for instance, lithium. People invested and they made a bunch of money. Now, I didn't tell them to go do that, but they did. You can try to play that game, but I'm not playing that game. I'm not going to invest in in a dark material. I'm not going to invest in evil because there are certain spiritual ramifications that come with that. Defense spending, perfect example. Oh, Casey, Trump's going to get us out of the war in Ukraine. No, I told you that it wasn't going to happen. I don't know. I don't even know how many times we have to be right before people wake up to this stuff. Now, had you believed Trump, you would have maybe pulled your money out of defense spending. Oh, Trump's a peacemaker. He's going to end all wars. So let's say you were invested in defense, and you're like, okay, time to cash out on defense. And now defense spending is once again through the roof. So the point is, don't invest in this evil. Divorce yourself from the chaos. And that's where you find peace and truth. Because you're not going in and out with the tide. You're standing on the shore and you're watching the chaos. Okay? You're outside of their paradigm of destruction. So, when you stand on the rock, when you stand on truth, those are always safe bets, right? Those are always safe bets. All right. What else is going on, you guys? Great questions. I'm reading the chat. What are you guys talking about? Money is a tool. It's the love of money that's evil. And I say, name me a person who uses money as a tool, right? Who doesn't love it. You can't use money as a tool and not love it. You see the problem? Yes, we all have to use money, but the people that are moving money around and investing and watching their investment, by definition, you love it because you're spending a bunch of time on it. So yeah, I understand the verse says the love of money is the root of all evil, but name me a person who has a bunch of money and moves it around who doesn't love it. By definition, the system is set up to where you have to invest your money if you have it. You have to sit and worry about it and watch stocks, watch your investment, take care of your investments. So those are my thoughts on that. But that's a great point you bring up. And thanks for bringing that up. Money makes universal trade possible. Yes, globalism. It makes globalism possible. I hate money. I don't love money. I don't love what money does to people. I don't like it that someone who figures out the tricks of how money works, because it's a trick. You know, Trump made millions of dollars selling books, get rich quick books, classes. How many of those people ever got rich? None of them, because the whole trick is that people use their power and popularity to get even more rich. That's the trick. It's called a pyramid scheme. They never show you the real ways to get rich. They never show you that, oh, this is generational wealth from the power structure that they set up. I don't know how many people that I've known in my life who wanted to be rich and they had the rich mindset and they said, oh, it's just, I have to take this class. I got to take this self help group. And none of those people ever got rich. Most people that I know that have money, it's been passed down. And as soon as people like have any successful business, which is very hard to do, you essentially give away everything to become rich. These people work so hard. They're working 100 hours a week. Is that what we're supposed to be doing as Christians? Working so hard to be rich? That sounds like they love money. Willing to do whatever it takes. And if you're willing to work that hard to become rich, then guess what? That means you love money. And that means you might be compromised if someone came to you and said, well, we can do this if you do that. What did Jesus do? Always ask yourself the question, did Jesus seek after money? Was he building a business? How did he spend his time? Did he spend his time working 100 hours a week to get a bunch of money or to build a business or to be rich? No. It was exactly the opposite. He said, sell everything, have the least amount possible, because your treasure's in heaven, not on this sinking sand. Yep, not trying to be rich. Most of us are just trying to stay afloat. Absolutely, Perry. The way to stay afloat is to divorce yourself from this economic system, right? That's the way to do it. I try to give personal examples. I used to make a bunch of money and I owned homes in California. And the market doesn't stop for you when life happens. And I know there's people out there that have been in a 30-year mortgage and they've bought multiple homes and it all just seemed to work out. They didn't ever have a divorce. They never got sick, but life happens and it doesn't wait. When it's time to sell your home, either the market's good or it's bad. You got about a 50% chance of losing everything. And all that money you invested is gone. So, back to biblical principles, there isn't supposed to be a loan that's 30 years. It's supposed to be no longer than 7 years you're supposed to be in debt to anybody. So, right there, they're breaking that rule. You get your debts paid off. You don't accrue any new debts. You live within your means. You find a humble, simple place to live, preferably in nature, away from the big cities. You have the lowest amount of tax liability possible. And that is what's long-term security. Most people aren't happy with that. They want more. They want to build something. That's love of money. Now, this is just raw truth, you guys. All these are biblical principles. I'm not telling you anything new, but very few people live in this space. Very few people live in that space, unfortunately. But I'm not the judge of that. I'm just telling you why these things happen to people. So, yes, when you're humble, you don't need to make a lot of money. You guys, I'm still averaging minimum wage. Believe it or not, sometimes I'll like, oh, look at this journey. This is insane. I'm like, and I kind of add it up in my head and I'm like, wow, God, I guess you can't say that I wasn't a good steward. You can't say that my heart wasn't in the right place with all this because I'm still averaging minimum wage. 12 years, almost 13 years of doing this. All right. Good questions, you guys. Yeah, I was telling jokes. And this is the biggest problem that I have. Well, let's not put it that way. A criticism that I have of Trump is that he tells you the opposite of everything I'm telling you right now. The exact opposite. The golden age. Everybody's going to be rich. Trust us. Bigger, better. Gold. Just put gold on it. Oh, but Casey, he didn't even take a salary for the presidency. He didn't need to. He's richer than ever. Trump is richer than ever. The little $200,000 a year presidential salary, that was just a gesture to deceive people, to get them believing he doesn't care about money, but he really does. That's why he sold NFT trading cards and all the other business ventures he's been doing. Remember, he was asking all of us for money for his legal defense. What happened to all that money? So now I'm not complaining, because look, what if I did make a bunch of money? That probably would have changed me, right? So God has me right where he wants me. He has me right where he wants me. So I'm not complaining. I don't want it to come across like that. I'm just telling you that there's something there's something that there's things in life that God puts you through so that you stay close to him, if that makes sense. He keeps you humble. Keeps you humble, doesn't he? And I know he's kept a lot of you humble. Casey, have you decoded They Live? I looked at that movie. I think I may have decoded it. I think so many people have decoded that one. It's pretty in our faces. I think I did decode it. I'll have to look, see if I can find that decode. All right. Oh yeah, good point, seeker of truth. He's in a place to make moves to make himself money. He ain't hurting for nothing. Yes. We did a video on Trump's investments before COVID. Heavily weighted in pharmaceutical companies, all the same pharmaceutical companies that would later make the V word. How did he know? This was like 2018, you guys. How did he know? Because he knew. Perfectly positioned. They made Omen 4 and there are twins. Oh, wow. Yeah, we live and they live. Yeah. It's like we're the only ones who can see these people. Isn't that crazy? The Devil's Breath Flower, I should do a decode on, says the Watchman. Yep. Walked away from Big Pharma. I guess you could call me a whistleblower of sorts. I actually met, what was her name now? I can't even remember. We should never forget her name. Met her in the field one time. And this was long before I was awake. And I was up in Ojai, California, calling on doctors and ran into her, the one that died. Why am I not remembering her name right now? But she was a whistleblower against the pharma companies, and it cost her life. Brandy, yes, Brandy Vaughn. And I spoke to her before she died, and she remembered, I'm like, yeah, we met in I remember all those years ago. We exchanged cards. Gosh, it must have been probably 2000, I want to say 3 or 4, maybe. And she woke up. She did a bunch of interviews. Now, had I been in contact with her, I would have told her, do not go on InfoWars, but she did. But it did help her break through and, to reach more people, I suppose. I would never go on InfoWars, but she did. And I think what happened was when she woke up, it was kind of single faceted. She wasn't awake to all the rest of the stuff like we are, but she was awake to the V words. Remember? And so that actually is what got her killed, because they killed her right before COVID. They didn't want her out there talking about this stuff, did they? She died right before that. And she had been targeted. She said people were infiltrating her house, moving things around. And it made her sound crazy, but she wasn't crazy. So, a lot of people put it all on the line, don't they? To tell the truth, even when the truth isn't popular. Risking their lives to tell you the truth. The real truth. Not all this other stuff. The real truth about the reality that we live in. So, knew too much. Yep, Joy. And Brandy was a special kind of person, because not only did she do her YouTube channel and did interviews, Brandy put her money where her mouth was. Brandy was putting billboards up all over the United States to warn people. She spoke to rooms full of people with hundreds of people in attendance, telling them the truth. She literally put it all out there. She did a lot more than I do. I just get on here and talk every day. I'm not putting up billboards. I'm not doing huge seminars. So some of us are special, aren't we? And I don't even claim to be special. I'm just here trying to warn people. I'm doing, I guess, what I can, but I could probably be doing a lot more. So, Humorous says, Brandy who? Brandy Vaughn. She was a whistleblower against Merck, who she worked for. And back when I was in pharmaceutical sales, I met her in the field, but this was before either of us was awake. And I think there was something personal going on. I think maybe her own son was like damaged somehow, because it takes a special kind of situation to happen to you in order to wake up and try to warn other people. And the same kind of goes for me to a lesser degree. My experience with the pharmaceutical industry helped me to wake up to everything now, because I saw the inside of all of this. And so it kind of fueled me in part to do what I do now, if that makes sense. So I think all of you guys are special and beautiful human beings, because you hunger for the truth. And that means something. Most people don't care, you guys. Most people don't care. They don't want to know the truth. They want their money. They want their peace. They want to go to 4th of July. They want to let off firecrackers. They want to do Christmas. They want to go out. They want to date. They want to do all the things. Not that dating's bad, but they're distracted. They don't want to know all this stuff. They don't want to be seen as a conspiracy theorist. So you guys are special that you actually set aside your life so that you can learn the truth. You've literally chosen truth over convenience. And that's special. That's bravery. That's true bravery. Most people are cowards. They don't want to be seen in a certain light. They want things to be easy in life, or what they think's easy. But then you see them walking into all these traps. Look at all the people we tried to warn about things being put in their bodies. Now they're either gone or they're damaged. Because they thought they were taking the easy way. Oh, I need to do this to get into a concert. See the problem here? So you think you're going the easy way, but you're actually going the hard way. But society basically ostracizes people like us. I have very few friends. Very few. So, yeah, even the word conspiracy theorist has been made into a very negative word. Notice how they just throw this, they weaponize this word, right? Conspiracy theorist. They put it in the articles and immediately it casts a shadow on awake people. All they got to do is use that word and it casts a shadow. It's a slur now, isn't it? It's no different than calling someone a name. Really isn't. All right, you guys. Well, I think we've been on here long enough. Tomorrow will be Rosemary's Baby deep dive. Just wow, right? I love you guys, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Much love. Take care.